Welcome Year 7 to your focused practical task tutorial. Today I'm going to show you what your outcomes should look like, the equipment that you will need, and how to follow the focused practical task instruction sheet, which is here. So for task 1, it asks you to use a ruler, measure and mark out the following measurements onto a piece of cotton fabric. Now the measurements it will give you is 80 by 80. And it's really important that you know that those are in millimetres. 80 by 80 is 8 centimetres by 8 centimetres. So look carefully at your ruler. Then you're going to mark out 3 squares, 80 by 80 millimetres or 8 by 8 centimetres. And those need to be marked on a sheet of fabric. Then carefully using fabric scissors, which are these ones over here, or you can use these ones if they are easier. You're going to cut out those 3 squares for your first task. On here, the sheet of fabric, I have very carefully marked out 3 squares, and you can just about see them over here. So here are my 3 squares, 1, 2, and 3. And what I'm going to do now is carefully cut them out for the first task. Remember, when you're using fabric scissors, the larger loop is where you put most of your fingers, the smaller loop was where your thumb will go. And when you open them up, the sharp part is inside here. This is going to be really sharp, so mind your fingers. So taking your first square, very carefully cutting on the lines, you're going to carefully cut out your first and then all 3. Now in this tutorial, I'm just cut out the 1, but for yourselves, you can cut out all 3 because each square is used in the 3 tasks for this assessment. So again, use the sharp part of your scissors, small cuts, take your time, then round this side, and again, small cuts, take your time as you go around there, over to the top, and then round here, and that concludes that first square. What you'll need to do then is once you've completed task 1, you'll need to stick that sheet of fabric on your lined paper and tell me what equipment you used for it and how you did that first task. And that concludes task 1. Reading on to task 2, which is just down here, you use another square that you've cut out from your original fabric, and then you are going to measure a horizontal line at 30 millimetres from that line, and then use another one 30 millimetres down. So you're drawing 2 lines. So again, on my piece of fabric here, take a pencil and a ruler, and you'll need to mark 30 millimetres. 30 millimetres is 3 centimetres. So I'll mark there, and I'm going to mark there, and then I'm going to connect the line together, and that'll be my first set of horizontal lines. Remember, horizontal, think about a horizon line. And my second line, again 30 down, 30 down. And because we're using an 80 millimetre square, 30 and 30 makes 60, so I should have 20 millimetres left over, or the equivalent of 2 centimetres. So for task 2, as it shows you in the picture, I'm going to sew. Now it says the word tacking, but what I'd like you to do is some nice straight stitch. Small, neat stitches, about half the size of a grain of rice when you're sewing. And again, my needle and thread is all ready to go here. If you don't know how to do it, follow my tutorial on my channel. So again, needle through the back. I won't complete all of this, but I just want to show you how you get started. Not at the back there. Make sure you pull it all the way through. And then you're going to go through small little stitches and pull all the way through. And then back up through the back to the top. Tiny little gaps. And then all the way through, and so on and so forth. So you start to sew your piece. And when it's done at Year 7, it should look a little bit something like this one. And you can see on here that this student, just let that get into focus, has worked very hard to get 2 neat rows of stitching. And again, if you don't know how to knot, have a look at the video on my channel. The last task, task 3, is on the back over here. And this is going to be a harder one. So again, read through that, look carefully at the instructions, and you should end up with a piece of fabric that looks like this one here. So you've got to do some very complex folding, have a look what it's telling you to do, and again, for each task, equipment and method. And that concludes your focus practical task.